Coming up tonight on Now, we're learning more about the 6-year-old little boy who was tragically hit and killed by a school bus in Rumford. We'll tell you what we know.
Plus, how do parents talk about sad events like death with their kids? We'll get tips from an expert.
And our Feed Maine telethon is in full swing. Find out how you can make sure no Mainer goes hungry. This is News Center Now.
The town of Rumford is grieving after a 6-year-old boy died while riding his bike. Good evening, I'm Chris Costa.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Police today identified the child as Jace Holt. They say he fell off his bicycle into the road, was hit by a school bus, and was pronounced dead at Rumford Community Hospital. Samantha York is live in Rumford tonight to explain how the community is remembering him.
Yeah, Chris and Lindsay, I was standing with a number of people from the community earlier today, and they said it perfectly. You can feel the love that this neighborhood has for that little boy, saying when tragedy strikes, there is nothing stronger than the bond of a small town.
He's a beautiful little boy.
Jace Holt captured the hearts of everyone he met.
He's an awesome kid, always loves to play. He always loves to smile.
On Wednesday afternoon, the 6-year-old was doing what many kids do after school, riding his bike. But when he got to this intersection, police say he didn't see a school bus had turned right in front of him. With no time to stop, Jace and his bike were hit by the back tire of the school bus. He didn't survive.
He was a great kid, taken too early.
Sadly, residents say this type of tragedy was never a matter of if, but a matter of when, saying many times drivers aren't paying attention.
Cars come through here 60 miles an hour, and from my house down there all the way to the other end, there's nothing but children.
In the hours since, a memorial wall has been created in Jace's honor, with loved ones, even absolute strangers, coming out to pay their respects.
It's got to be the mother's worst day of her life. My youngest is 1. There's no words. There's nothing that can make it better.
A community standing together through a family's darkest time, hoping to bring them some peace and comfort and a little bit of light.
I couldn't help her revive her son, but I want to make sure his memory lives on.
We did reach out to the superintendent of RSU 10. She says that the district's thoughts and prayers are with the family, saying that the driver of that bus is just devastated. Counseling services are being provided to students as we speak. And we'll have more about that, as well as a candlelight vigil that's being held here later this evening tonight on News Center at 5:30 and 6. Chris and Lindsay, back to you.
All right, Sam, thanks very much. After sad events like these, kids can have a lot of questions, and as a parent, it can be tough to know how to answer those questions. So we sat down with Sarah Ash, a child bereavement counselor for the Center for Grieving Children, to help parents navigate these interactions with their kids.
Really young kids, kindergartners and some first graders, really don't understand what has happened, and they can be confused. They want to understand what's happening so that they can have the feelings. And if they don't understand, those feelings kind of get bottled up. They don't know what they're trying to express, and they can look like they're acting out. Their grief doesn't look the same as ours. They dip in and out of being really sad and maybe having a tantrum or a cry jag that we don't understand what it's about because, again, they don't have the language to express it. With the older kids, the 9, 10, and 11-year-olds, those the older elementary school kids, they're really curious about the process of dying and may ask a lot of what seems like inappropriate questions, that they're just curious. And we do encourage people to use the word died. That's for those little kids. That helps them understand what's going on. It's not the same as being gone. When somebody goes away, they come back usually. If they go to sleep, they wake up. So we really encourage people to use that word to help them learn what die means.
What can parents do if they're noticing that their child is sad? What can a parent do to help their child through that?
Tell them it's okay to be sad. Have your own feelings in front of them and show them that you're sad too, as long as you're not scaring them. But for kids to see that you're sad and for you to be able to reassure them that I am sad now, but I'll be okay, is really part of their learning process also, to know that hard things, bad things can happen in the world, but we'll be okay. That helps them build their resilience, and that's really what we're looking for.
We covered so many other topics, including how to answer when kids ask detailed questions about a death. She said it's also okay to say, I don't know. You can watch the full interview with Sarah Ash on our website or mobile app.
Certainly a sad time for that community rallying together.
Yeah.
Well, switching gears now, turning to the weather. We're hoping we can shake this rainy pattern. It's just it's a downer, Keith.
I would like that too. However, not looking great. There is some good news about the weekend. We'll talk about that in a second. First, let's start with a little meteorological knowledge that I'm sure you're very excited to learn. Take a look at this temperature map. And guys, could you guess what the satellite looks like from this temperature map?
No.
Nothing at all, Lindsay? You're nodding your head.
All blue?
All right, fine. We'll look how it's
I'm
warmer
going for colors.
here. See how northern Maine's warmer? That's almost
Yeah.
never the case, right?
Right.
So, yeah, see, they got all the sun. I'm a big fan of deducing one map from another map. This is like, works great as a pickup line. Chicks love it. Northern Maine,
Oh my God.
down East Maine. Nice and sunny, so the temperatures responded. The rest of us stayed socked in, so we really truly saw 2 different days, depending on where you were in Maine today. It was a huge, huge contrast. Radar is pretty clean out there. A couple of showers up across Canada. A little low-level moisture still being picked up on the radar over western and southern Maine, so a little drizzle is still a possibility through the first half of tonight. Front got sagged to the south down across Massachusetts, so we're on the wrong side of the front, so to speak, on the cool side of the front through the rest of tonight. We try to clear out a bit more, but I don't think we do a good job over central Maine and southern Maine, so we start clouding up again. Tomorrow's a cloudy day. There will be some showers coming in tomorrow afternoon. Guys, the weekend we've been talking about how close it's going to be. We finally have some answers, and they're generally positive.
Good to
Love
hear.
to hear that.
Thanks, Keith.
The Maine Senate has passed a bill that would end non-medical vaccine exemptions, but the Senate voted to keep religious exemptions in. The Senate passed the bill 20-15, and if enacted, this would end philosophical opt-outs by the year 2021 for public school students as well as nursery schools and healthcare facilities employees. The bill now goes back to the House for a vote with the religious exemption added. You've seen the graphic at the bottom of your screen throughout the show. Today is our Feed Maine Telethon.
And we're going to take a live look at our phone banks in Portland. Make sure to keep them busy. When we come back, we'll learn about the Good Shepherd Food Bank's facility in Hamden. The New Center Maine Feed Maine Telethon still going strong, but we need your help. Phones will be open until 8 tonight.
And all of the money raised today goes directly to the Good Shepherd Food Bank. News Center's Sean Stackhouse is at the Hamden Distribution Center tonight. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Chris and Lindsay. I'm here at the Hamden Distribution Center, and this is really the epicenter of what's happening in central and northern Maine. They provide food for more than 400 other locations across the state, and one of the men behind it all joins me now, Ethan Minton, the major gift officer for the Good Shepherd Food Bank. Ethan, this must be a very exciting and special day for you.
Oh, it is. We look forward to this day throughout the year, and to be here in Hamden where we're creating this new distribution center is especially exciting.
And you just mentioned the new distribution center set to be opening in September. How is this new facility going to be able to provide even more meals to families in Maine?
Well, it's a real challenge to get food from our main warehouse in Auburn, and some of the highest rates of food insecurity are in the 6 northernmost counties. And we're going to be able to more easily reach those in need in those 6 counties.
And you mentioned some of those northernmost counties. What are some of the places that you are able to serve across the state with the Good Shepherd Food Bank?
Well, we do cover the entire state, literally from Kittery to Fort Kent, Jackman to Eastport, and everywhere in between.
And if someone was to want to get involved, how would they be able to do that, whether they want to volunteer or give a donation?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, with the telethon today, you know, every dollar allows us to get 4 meals, so $100. That helps provide meals for a family of 4 for a month. If you're interested in volunteering, you can go to our website, feedingmaine.org. You can also make contributions there as well.
And phone banks will be open for the Feed Maine Telethon today until 8 p.m. If you haven't had the chance to donate, make sure you call by 8 tonight. For now, live in Hamden, Sean Stackhouse, News Center, Maine.
All right, Sean, thank you very much. We will have more from our Feed Maine Telethon coming up. Jess Gagne will let us know how these food banks can have a big impact on senior citizens.
And St. Keith never gets old, I guess, for us.
What? No, yes, it absolutely does.
His forecast's getting pretty old, though.
Our Feed Maine Telethon is still going on, and there's still plenty of time to donate.
Did you know that a $275 donation provides a senior citizen with food for an entire year through their local pantry? Here with more on this telethon is Jess Gagne, and she has a story related to this statistic. Hey, how's it going, Jess?
Hi, Chris and Lindsay. Yeah, so 14% of Maine households deal with food insecurity, and a lot of people who are struggling are senior citizens. I have Claire McConnell from the Good Shepherd Food Bank with me. You know firsthand how hard this can be for seniors. Sometimes they have to choose between their medications or getting food.
Absolutely. Maine has a large population of older people in our state, and many are living on fixed incomes. They've worked their whole lives, they raised families, but unfortunately now, without enough income, they're struggling to make ends meet, and they need help accessing food.
Well, I got to go to an apartment complex in Auburn where seniors are thriving, and that's thanks in part to the Good Shepherd Food Bank. Take a look.
To shop for fresh veggies, all these seniors have to do is walk down the hall and wait.
There are a lot of people with walkers or with wheelchairs that don't get out at all, so they can just take the elevator down.
Once a week, the community room at the Auburn Esplanade apartment complex turns into a pop-up grocery store.
Wow!
An array of fresh produce is delivered by the Good Shepherd Food Bank, loaded in and spread out for eager shoppers to peruse.
This here is a big help to them because we know they're being, nourished with the good foods that they're supposed to have.
Ginger Lavasser joins her fellow tenants downstairs every Friday morning when the food arrives. She knows some of her friends are struggling to make ends meet. This helps.
They've worked hard all their lives, and gave up a lot of stuff to raise their family, and a lot of the food that we're getting here, we might not be able to afford to buy in the grocery store.
Apples and oranges, potatoes and carrots, all free for the taking. Good Shepherd even tailors the care packages for special occasions.
St. Patrick's Day, they bring us cabbage and carrots and turnip, and so they can make themselves a boiled dinner, which is good.
It's a service these Mainers are thankful for.
They're doing a fantastic job for all the people around the area.
Delivering produce and a promise that no senior citizen will go hungry or be forgotten.
What's wonderful is those seniors actually take the leftover food that Good Shepherd brings to them, and they bring it to a church to make sure there's no waste, which is such an amazing thing. All right, the phones are starting to ring. You can hear them behind me. Thanks to viewers like you, we've already collected about $35,000 and counting. This helps the Good Shepherd Food Bank so much. So thank you so much for calling. The phone number's on your screen. If for some reason you can't call, you can donate at feedmaine.com. We will be here till 8 o'clock, Chris and Lindsay. So if you want to talk to Jess Conley about the weather, now's your chance. Or if you have a Maine Mariners question, you can ask while you're donating.
I know. Todd Guttner said that earlier this morning. A lot of people were calling in and complaining about the weather while they were at it.
I feel like that's probably Keith's fault because he directs all the complaints to
I can give you Jess's cell phone number if you don't want to call in too. That's fine.
Before we get to that, and not giving out Jess's number, but the forecast, that Red Sox auction we've been telling you guys about all week has come to an end, and it went for quite a bit. Bidding really picked up today, and the Feed Maine Fenway Game Day package went for $2,350. We don't know who the winner is yet, but well done, everyone, and thank you to everyone who submitted a bid.
That's really important to get all these donations, especially at this time of year, because Jess was talking about the senior citizens, but on the flip side, there are the kids where school is ending, and those free and reduced lunch programs are not going to be necessarily available to everybody over the summer.
Yeah.
So this is a really important time for them.
I was thinking about if we're running low later in the show, like, do I throw in if we donate $10,000 in my name, I'll shave my beard off or something like that.
Do a cartwheel.
Somebody said shave head. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's just not.
That's where you draw the line.
At 36, I'm not confident it'll grow back. So that's the bottom line. I'm not like Mayor Ethan Strimling there, who shaved his head. It came back the next day.
Right.
A joke. All right. It was warm over northern Maine today. Warmish. 57 in Caribou, 59 in Holton. Jess and I were talking about, I won't give her cell phone number, I'm just kidding about that. But we were talking about how it's been a different day and a different season over far northern Maine. They've seen a lot more sunshine there. So they hear us complaining in some of the more populated parts of Maine, but it hasn't been that bad up there. But this is another case of that. Look at the visible satellite, nice and sunny over northern and down east Maine, just socked into the low stratus clouds over central and southern Maine. In fact, if you don't believe me, take a look at Mount Katahdin right now. It's just, you know, if we could contrast this with a Portland web camera or something, you would see such a huge difference between the two, and it's sitting at 57, ice breaking up thoroughly there. So it's been just a different season, different day over central and northern Maine. All right, we're pretty cleared out as far as the radar. A little signs that there's still low-level moisture in there when the radar picks up these little tiny dots. It can be a number of things. Sometimes it can be birds, sometimes it can be insects, believe it or not. But in this case, it's picking up low-level moisture, a little drizzle droplets still flying out there over the western part of the state. Warm front is to the south. There's very few times that you want to be to the north of a warm front in Maine. Maybe in mid-July, early August, when you don't want to be super, super warm, but not this time of the year, because look at our temperatures and then look at what's going on to our south. 70 in DC, 68 in New York. It was in the upper 70s, low 80s in the mid-Atlantic today. On the other side of the front, unfortunately, we just couldn't get there. Hour by hour forecast showing us clouds hanging pretty thick tonight. Tomorrow is a cloudy day. I don't anticipate we'll see much sunshine, again, except for far northern Maine. But we stay dry until afternoon. Then a couple of showers move in through the evening, a downpour or two. But the good news is the computer models are handling this weekend forecast a little better. So after a very early shower on Saturday, we should be able to dry out through the afternoon, see a little sunshine Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday, the first half of the day looks good. By Sunday afternoon, a couple of clouds start moving in and maybe a few showers late in the day on Sunday. So the bulk of it is good, the weekend. Safe to call the season over, hopefully, and this is what we ended up with for snowfall. Pretty normal in Portland and Bangor and, of course, Caribou. So maybe that's how it works, right? Caribou is now enjoying some really nice weather, and they had a tough winter. It started in early November and just broke up. But, yeah, you know, it's obviously beautiful. It's not often that we get to say Aroostook County has the best weather in Maine. Right. But that has been the case the last couple of weeks.
Well deserved.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we're kind of just we're socked in here.
We are.
It is what it is.
We'll get through it.
Spray tan.
I'm going to replay the number of times meteorologists on this station have said the word socked in the past 2 weeks.
It's like a Maine thing, too.
Right, right. Yeah. All right, Keith, thank you very much. What if the things we wear and use every day were made of something from the ocean?
It turns out Maine kelp is proving to be a sustainable resource. It could also help stem the tide on plastic pollution. Through innovative research, students and professors at the University of New England are finding evidence of the amount of microplastic pollution off the coast of Maine. It can be invisible to the naked eye, and it's created when plastic breaks down in the ocean over time. Emily Hansen, a senior, found a way to detect microplastics in blue mussels. Hansen's professors say this is a global problem and more research on the health impact is urgent.
We've got this genie out of the bottle. What are the different tools in the toolbox, in either terms of regulation or market incentives? What are some things we can start to think to get on top of this?
There is a company based in New York called Alginate that works to create products using seaweed instead of plastic. That company has tapped a Maine seaweed farm to help them in doing that. They want to use Maine seaweed to make alginate, which works like fiber or yarn. We'll find out more when Stemming the Tide on Plastic airs tonight at 6 on News Center Maine.
Very cool. Excited for that one. It could be considered a brilliant marketing campaign or just teasing competition. Burger King is introducing a new line of boxed meals that honor a full range of human emotions. They're called real meals. So instead of the slogan, "Have it your way," Burger King wants you to feel your way. And among the meals being offered, the blue meal for when you're sad, the salty meal for when you're a little bit bitter, the Yas meal for when you're excited, and the DGAF meal, which means you couldn't care less. Burger King partnered with Mental Health America for the campaign in an effort to raise awareness about mental health issues, since May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
I like the salty one also because I'm just like, I just love a good salty savory meal, you know? When you're feeling salty, it's like the best cure, I guess.
I can't.
Well, an unlikely model made an appearance on the catwalk of a Christian Dior show in Morocco this week in typical feline fashion as models filed along the runway for the show's finale. A gray and white cat strutted alongside them as eager spectators snapped photos from the sidelines. The cat walked in the opposite direction, cutting across their line and making its way towards the audience.
Does this count as a cat fashion show?
Right?
That cat DGAF.
Yes, exactly.
It's not care.
We will leave it at that.
You've got some serious news coming up at 5:30.
Definitely, yes. A lot of questions surrounding this really graphic photo that's come up in a murder trial. One of the people in the photo is 10-year-old Marissa Kennedy, who prosecutors say was beaten to death by her caretakers Sharon and Julio Carrillo. Sharon is also in that photo, and her lawyers argue it proves she is a victim of domestic violence. Hear more from Dustin Vladkowski. And a town council meeting is scheduled tonight in Glenburn, where residents of a very muddy and impassable road say they need help. Will they get it? We'll find out tonight, guys.
All right, Amanda, thanks so much. Stick with us. News Center Maine at 5:30's next. Brain drops after this.
Here's a quick look at our phone banks in Bangor for our News Center Maine Feed Maine Telethon. It ends tonight at 8 o'clock, and make sure you catch the special coming up.
Sounds good. All right, are we going to scare everybody with brain drops tonight?
Just you. This is your
Okay.
favorite topic. Okay, so in 2029, on Friday, April 13th,
I'm marking this in my calendar
there
as
will be
we speak.
an asteroid that comes. There's a visual there. And by the way, the blue is our satellite field.
Okay,
so that's where all the satellites are at. It will come 19,000 miles from Earth, which is a very close pass by space standards. In fact, perspective is that the moon is about, depending on its orbit, 225,000 miles away. So it'll be way, way closer than the moon. You'll be able to see it without a telescope, in some cases during the day. The good news is they're going to use this. There's a whole committee on what to do if an asteroid, there's a name for it, but what to do if an asteroid would impact. And they're going to use this as a dry run to see if some of their measures might have worked. So they're excited about it. There is, they say, no chance that it will hit.
How big is this asteroid?
It's about 1,000 feet, so it would be like, yeah.
It would make an impact.
It would be.
Lindsay just turned
The
ghostly white.
It'd be like a little dinosaur-ish, probably. But it's not going to hit, and it's going to be cool. And it's Friday the 13th, so nothing can go wrong.
Excellent.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Keith. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now.